on this, the 15th day of December.
Emily, could I have a piece of yellow pad or something, just that, I forgot to bring anything to write on.
Spider free, by the way.
Right.
Can't make any promises. There we go.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you.
Our first order of business, I will call for a motion to approve the minutes in the November 3rd, 2021 COA Board of Directors meeting.
So moved.
It has been moved. Is there a second?
There is, second.
Thank you, Carol and Ralph. Any discussion, changes, alterations to the minutes as you have seen them?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It is a vote. Is there anyone here for public comment today? Seeing none, I will go to the chair's comment. First and foremost, I want to thank our vice chair for very ably covering the last couple of months, and I sincerely appreciate that. And I appreciate the opportunity to change the meeting. Unfortunately, I'm dealing with some family health issues, and it's funny being part of the Council on Aging, where we advocate for seniors, their families, and their caregivers. You never realize you're going to become a caregiver.
Yes.
And
Been
how
there,
your
done that.
perspective changes when you see that. And most of you have been caregivers. And it's interesting going through it.
It is indeed.
But when you go through the process of the healthcare proxies and the power of attorneys and the guardianships and so forth, and you find your priorities need to
It's
be
a lot.
reset. And so I appreciate you allowing me, because I love the work that we do here. And we're blessed. I think we have the best committee in town. And to continue this work it's so fulfilling to me. So I appreciate your help for the last couple of months.
Please.
And for the committee to allow us to redo this.
And the meetings were nice and short.
It has been very short.
Ralph loved that.
10:30, Ralph, I've got it. I've been told. Carol told me.
Clock is running.
Short copy so. So just everyone else, how is everyone else doing? Everyone okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, very good. We did meet with the Board of Selectmen on November 15th with our annual meeting with them. We submit an extensive report, which we have on file. If anyone would like to see, be happy to do it. With the assistance of Emily, we submit a 4-page report.
Yeah.
And so it is substantial. At the actual meeting with the board, they have read it. It has been in their packet. So I asked if they have any questions of what's going on. It was relatively minimal. Good meeting. They recognize the work that's being done here. They do recognize our director for the work that she has been doing. So all good with that. I want to move briefly on to a workshop that we held last week. Angie, I'm going to ask you if you would like to give a very brief report, and then I'll follow it up. We had a workshop with the Friends of the Council on Aging. Was put together by Jim Nickman, who was one of the newest members. Jim was a development director in New York City, very accomplished. In essence, putting a workshop of a very strong group of advocates for seniors on the Cape together, including our state representative and members of her staff, really representatives from the county, from almost every senior organization on the Cape. Upwards of 30 had been invited. Angie, would you give just a quick synopsis of what you thought of the meeting?
Yeah, it ran from 2 to about 4:30, but I thought it was well spent. And you had an opportunity to hear the pros of all the things that are happening across the Cape. And then, of course, you had the flip side, things that we needed to work on or that they thought they worked on. It was kind of interesting to see that so many of us had similar ideas, similar thoughts, even though we were coming from various areas and of interest. So I think it went extremely well. I thought the young lady that ran the program did an extremely fine job of keeping us moving and staying on task. And so we'll be waiting to hear back for the feedback that everybody sent, and that should be coming out shortly, I would think.
And thank Angie for being a representative of the council for it. It was exceptional. It was one of the best I've seen. The young lady, Sky Freeze Cole from Brewster, is a professional facilitator. And if you ever find yourself having a need for a professional facilitator, she was exceptional, absolutely exceptional. Again, we had some tremendous cross-section of well-respected senior advocates in the room. And looking at a number of factors, we saw some trends, some of the needs that we need. One of the biggest ones that came out is communication. And I had 2 people literally say to me, well-respected people, I love when I can see the newsletter that comes out from the Council on Aging. Sometimes it's tough finding it.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, that bulb goes off. It all comes back down to that communication. We've got these relationships that we've formed. It's like getting that communication out. And some of the ideas that will be brought up again with the Friends to see how they can finance something to meet those needs is creating potentially a clearinghouse for all things advocating for seniors, everything across the board. So we'll see what it comes out. But again, Angie, thank you. Thank our director, Emily, who was a big part of it. It was a great, great day, and we do look forward to getting that. That's it from my comments today. I'll turn it over to our director.
Thank you very much. All right, so to bring you up to speed on our kind of current scale of operations and what we're planning for the next few months, I did include the completed January, February 22 newsletter in your packet. I'm thrilled to share, I'll report a little bit more later, that it will be going to print today. We do have a contract, it will be going to print. It may be slightly delayed reaching folks. We'd initially planned to get it out last week, but some printing contract delays set us back a few days, but not too many. So that's really good news. So this should be reaching folks just about the beginning of January. We'll be putting it on the website and emailing it out to folks who have signed up for the email distribution just about the first of the month in January. We have quite a few new programs coming on board in January and February, and covering really a wide range of interests, skills, passions, topics. We have a 13-week philosophy and film class coming online beginning at the end of January. It's a really interesting, it's a local Harwich resident who has a background in philosophy history. And so basically he introduces a philosophical topic and then picks a really popular American film that relates to that philosophical topic in some way. So it's six groupings of philosophical topic and then film, next philosophical topic, next film. So it should be really interesting, not something we've really done before. So I'm excited about that. We have some fun Valentine's Day events coming up, a memoir writing group, a new COVID support group that our social services coordinator, Julie Weedis, will be running. We're just coming up on the 2-year mark of living through this pandemic, and whether you've experienced COVID directly, had family or friends or caregivers directly impacted, or just living your life in this dramatically changed world we're all experiencing, it's kind of open to anyone, and that will be beginning in January as well. Something I'm excited about that we're partnering with the library is something called the Send a Story Project. And so this is where both COA and library staff can work with you to record yourself reading a story. It's both 2 options, of video recording or audio only. And then you get one of those QR codes, the little squiggly square code things. You put that in the book and you send it off to the child of your choice, and so then the child can read the book and hear, you reading to them or watch you reading the book to them. So we'll be doing that beginning in January. It'll be by appointment. We're going to do it twice a month, and we're going to host it here at the Council on Aging. So we're really excited about that. Kind of a different group of older adults than we've worked with in other capacities, I anticipate. And we do, especially in pandemic, it's harder to see families, harder to travel, and so this is a great way to stay connected. So I'm very excited about that. Folks will be signing up. It's appointment only. You do come in, bring the book, go through the recording process. It takes about half an hour. And so, yes, we'll be doing that here, and you'll call the Council on Aging to sign up for that.
great.
So we're very excited about that. The other thing that this time of year brings is tax appointments. So we are again partnering with the AARP Tax Aid Program to offer that service. They do have a defined scope of service. It's meant for low and middle income residents. It's not limited to seniors, though of course, many seniors are encouraged to participate. It will be held following more of the pre-COVID protocols, so there'll be in-person hour-and-a-half meetings. They're going to take place at the Chatham Community Center again. I do want to note that because they're in Chatham, that all participants will have to follow Chatham Board of Health requirements. Their Board of Health has been a little bit more conservative than ours has, so they still have mask mandates in town buildings, and those may evolve over time. So I just want folks to be on notice that they will be required to abide by whatever the current scale of Board of Health requirements are in the town of Chatham. We know that appointments are going to be on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but we don't yet have a defined schedule. All of their volunteers go through AARP and IRS training, so we're waiting to see, how many volunteers are interested in working specifically with Harwich residents, and I expect to have that information in the beginning of January. So I wanted folks to know that it was happening. It is in the newsletter, but we don't have all of the details worked out yet. So if folks want to give us a call, probably starting the second full week in January, we should have more information. And we anticipate that appointments will begin the first week in February. So those are our new programs coming up, and then I'm excited that some of our programs are resuming or expanding. So Senior Fit, our very popular class, took a hiatus for the holidays, but will be coming back in January. Balance Boosters also took a hiatus for November, December, and is expected to come back in January. And then Jill Brown's exercise class that she started with us in November is continuing, and she's adding a new day. So it's previously, or currently, is just Fridays. She's added a whole new set of classes on Wednesday, set to begin in January. So we know that there's been a pent-up demand for fitness programs in particular, so we're trying to offer as many and as wide a variety as we can. So we're excited about all of those. The details are all in the newsletter on, when to sign up, what the capacity restrictions are, when the programs are. Everything is still operating with capacity restrictions and strict pre-registration requirements, and we expect that to continue for the foreseeable future. So I think that's mostly it on my kind of current scale of operations. I don't know if folks have any questions or feedback on that.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
How's the firewood thing going?
Oh, the firewood project went tremendously. We did, Connor O'Brien from the Harwich Conservation Trust reached out to me maybe 6 weeks ago to say that they were doing some land clearing and restoration at one of their sites at the Pleasant Bay Woodlands, and that the wood they were clearing is an invasive species, so needed to be removed, but makes great firewood. So he reached out to me saying, we would love to get firewood into the hands of residents who could use some support heating their homes through the winter. So we did coordinate that program. It was a one-day program, so it was, I was there, Connor was there from the Conservation Trust, and about 16 AmeriCorps Cape Cod members were there cutting and splitting the wood. So we got wood to, I think, 38 people last Friday, December 10th, and it was really a phenomenal resource. So we were very excited about that. There were some folks who reached out after we had filled our capacity, but I've been talking with Connor, and he thinks that land trusts in other towns will be coordinating similar programs. So folks should be on the lookout. Other land trusts, other councils on aging, or their human services departments will be releasing announcements as those programs come online. But it was really a tremendous opportunity for folks to get some firewood to help with heating through the winter.
Terrific.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Question on the lunch numbers.
Yes.
How many are we getting for in-person lunches?
Our in-person numbers are still quite low. I'd say anywhere from 12 to maybe 20 are dining on site.
Okay.
20 is definitely a high for on-site
Yeah,
meals.
yeah.
Our grab-and-go numbers are higher, so I think we're averaging between 30 and 40 meals per day. Our capacity is 45, but the vast, vast majority are picking the grab-and-go option. And I don't know if that's preference, comfort.
And actually, which brings a great point.
Yes.
They're not sure. Is there a way, and Ralph, thank you for bringing that up, to find out from some of the people who are not coming back what their reasoning may be?
Definitely. So I think we will in particular reach out to the variety of people who were on our transportation delivery program throughout COVID to get their feedback. A lot of those folks are homebound, so they weren't going to be good candidates for coming to an on-site meal. But I'd also love to get in touch with people who came to on-site meals pre-COVID, didn't participate in the distribution program, but haven't come back since we've resumed on-site meals. So, but I do think, cases are surging right now.
Oh, absolutely, I
and
understand.
that's one of our higher risk. You're sitting at a table
Sure.
unmasked.
And that's what, if that is the case, I'd like to know that.
Yes.
So that as things, rather than hearing, well, I didn't know that it was back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we want to know, to make it aware for people who were, because a lot of them do rely on that for socialization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's anyway, and I don't know,
Yeah.
and if we need a volunteer to make calls, one of us,
Sure.
I'll be happy to volunteer as well.
The other flip side of that is, I think they've been in their homes so long, sometimes they get comfortable and they don't want to go out at all.
Yes.
You kind of get locked into that mindset,
Definitely.
so that might be
Absolutely.
something else we might have to do to help them.
And it's interesting, and Carol, in real estate, I'm sure you've seen this, we've seen some clients who were isolated during COVID, and we've seen it, and you've seen it here, that can set into confusion, in some cases depression. And that's why the isolation concerns me
Yeah.
when we see people who are there, because you do get comfortable.
Yeah,
You know, you
Yeah.
get comfortable doing your routine, and that isolation can lead to many other issues that we just wanna make sure that we're addressing the best that we can.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Thank
But
you.
again, I'd like to be aware of, if there are folks in their homes who cannot get out for whatever reason and would like a lunch,
Mhm.
I think we can continue to deliver them in some cases. I do, in West Harwich, but I think there'll be other people willing to do the same thing. And I think some of these folks are reluctant to impede,
I'll say that the process of organizing the full-scale lunch distribution program that we had during COVID was exceptionally labor-intensive on staff side.
Yeah, sure.
That we could not do it on any kind of scale while also offering on-site meals.
yeah.
It's just, that was probably half of what Julie spent her time doing, was coordinating that program, creating the routes,
Yeah.
screening people, keeping track of who was home, who was in the hospital, who was in a nursing home, and
Right.
it shifted so dramatically that it's not possible to do at that scale.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's something I included, I'll get to a little bit later, in my budget proposal, was kind of a significant funding expansion for meals and an additional staff person that would allow us to do both, because I do think we realize that there's a significant unmet nutrition need in this town, and we met it much better with the delivery program, and so how do we build that capacity so we can resume meeting that need? So it's something that would require more resources, but it's something I would like to transition to, because we were meeting it better before we brought the on-site
Right.
meals back.
And Julie and Katie have been doing a great job, I
Yes.
will say now, too.
Definitely,
Yeah.
yes. So I hope that the socialization piece builds. I think there is value in the on-site meal, but I don't want to be lacking in our ability to meet the nutrition component because we've chosen this methodology. So that's definitely something we're grappling with and hoping to expand our resources to meet.
And if I may, Ralph, when you delivered, I'm assuming there is some socialization content to that delivery.
Oh, yeah.
You're interacting
These
with
people are
some-
delighted to see me, I have to say
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
and we chat for a few minutes at the door and joke around a little bit, and one lady gives me Lorna Doone cookies every day. She used to give me s'mores, and so we have fun, but.
So that's why you like delivering.
Oh, absolutely, bring 'em on, bring 'em on.
But there is that component that's there on a delivery as well, but I just think
Yes.
you're right, I think
Yes.
the nutrition is essential.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
socialization can be worked into no matter how
Yeah.
we're providing some type of nutrition.
Exactly.
Yes.
Great, thank
Yes,
you.
yes. And then the other thing I wanted to mention operationally was we have fully resumed our volunteer medical driver program. That was something that I think was on the cusp at our November meeting, and it is fully in process. We are scheduling volunteer medical rides as we speak. So we have largely, probably entirely transitioned away from providing medical rides on the COA van, and we're meeting that need entirely with volunteer medical drivers.
Terrific.
So I'm very excited that we've been able to bring that back on.
Great.
And not to lengthen the meeting, but Social Security, are we reestablishing the Social Security thing?
So as far as I am aware, the Social Security office is still working remotely. Their
Okay.
staff is still working remotely, so they're not in the office to use their component of the video
Okay.
conference technology, but they are available through email and phone.
Right.
I know that's not the ideal way to work with the office, but that is how they are doing their job
So we're on
functions
top
right
of
now.
being ready when
Yes.
they're ready?
Yes, we did resume our MOU with the Social Security Administration. The
Right.
technology is working and ready.
Right,
So
okay.
when they're ready to use it on their end, we are ready to use it on
Super,
ours.
thank you.
Yes. All right. All right, so now I'll jump into our favorite topic of conversation, the fiscal year 23 budget process.
Ah,
So let me just flip to that part of my notes here. So I did include in your packet the direction department heads were given from the town administrator, which comes from the Board of Selectmen, and as well as my initial submission for the Council on Aging. So you'll see from the budget memorandum given to us by the town administrator that we were directed to level fund our fiscal year 23 budget relative to our 22 approved budget. Level fund means that the amount we requested has to be identical. So we had contractual increases in salaries and wages, and then a couple of other increases to things like postage and bulk fuel that, we can't avoid if we want to continue to provide transportation in a newsletter. And the other thing that I chose to increase was the amount of funding we allocate for the to subsidize residents who attend the Orleans Social Day program. So with those, budget items going up, I had to make cuts to other parts of the budget to comply with the directive. So the things that you'll notice the biggest cuts to, and I did try to highlight these in the submission. I know the munis reports aren't the most user-friendly to read through, but the information is by and large there. So I highlighted any increases or decreases. But the decreases were to training, so that's gonna impede our ability to provide training both to staff and to any volunteers. To paid advertisements, so, speaking to what Richard brought up, one of the biggest problems we face as a council on aging is letting folks know what we offer. And relying on a few paid advertisements on either websites or newspapers was one way to expand our outreach beyond people who are already signed up for the newsletter. I did have to eliminate all funding for that. The last kind of area that I could cut was to our nutrition line item. So during COVID, we had a capacity of 70 meals, and that was possible with supplemental funding from FEMA and CARES Act. As soon as those funds expired, our town appropriated budget for fiscal year 22 supports about 44 or 45 meals per day. And then with this request for 23, I had to cut that back down to 40 meals per day. That was kind of the maximum amount that would be supported in a level funded budget. So those are the places I cut for this budget request to comply with the directive. The method for department heads to request expanded funding is something called an Enhancement of Services line item. And the town does have an option for enhancements of services for personnel and enhancements of services for expenditures. I did request one of each. So I am formally requesting an add to staff, a full-time benefited program specialist 2. That was what I was hoping to accomplish through the reorganization process, which was not supported through our administration. And so I am requesting an add to staff. That person would be responsible for programming. So right now, the vast majority of programming falls on me. So this person would have kind of a formal programming role and a formal volunteer coordination role. So I'm requesting that person, and with the addition of that person, we could support things like a lunch distribution program in tandem with an on-site meal program. So I'm requesting that add to staff. And in terms of expenditures, I am requesting $31,000 for nutrition support. And that would bring us back up to our 70 meal capacity. Throughout COVID, we had consistent demand for 70 meals and often ran a wait list. So that nutrition need is there, and I think there are a variety of ways for us to meet that need. And so I'm requesting funding to get us back up to that capacity. So that is the budget as I have submitted it. It will go through multiple iterations. The next step is for department heads to meet with the town administrator, Joe Powers, and the finance director, Carol Coppola, and to kind of make our case for that. And then it goes to the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee, and then of course ultimately to town meeting. So I don't know if anyone has feedback or thoughts on the budget as I have submitted it.
Anybody? Okay, if you remember in years past, when budget goes in, it is, as Emily mentions, goes through a number of iterations. But there is an opportunity at a public meeting with the Board of Selectmen and with the finance to advocate for the budget. I don't want to project any outcomes at this point, but I would like to plan. And that when we get to that stage, that I would make a request to the board, the council, that we be present, because there is strength in numbers.
Absolutely.
And there's a conundrum when you deal with budgeting in a small community. There is a process through town meeting, and in the past, committees have not gone along with the recommendations of Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen at town meeting, and they've amended budgets. I prefer to work through the process rather than working outside of the process, because the department works daily with town hall, administration, and the members of the board. So when we get to the stage of a public airing of the budget, if you are able to come at some point, and if transportation is an issue for anyone, I'll be happy to pick someone up for the meeting itself. would like to have the strength of the board behind Emily when she presents that. And it has made a difference in the past, when we have shown up, when we have advocated, and done in a respectful way, that while there may be a disagreement with the overall philosophy of the budget being put together, that it's worked out well for all parties.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay. Pleasure.
That can be summed up as be there or else.
That's it. Be there or be gone.
Now, Ralph.
So I am excited to share some staffing updates. So we did have our program specialist one position posted the last time we met. We have since filled that position with Kate Seeley. So she had joined us in September as a temporary administrative assistant. She did apply for the program specialist one position, which is a permanent position. And so she has joined us in a permanent capacity in that new position. Her first day was this past Monday, the 13th. So we are very, very excited to welcome her on board. She's been a phenomenal addition to the team for the last 3 months, and I'm thrilled that that will be a permanent placement for her. So we're very excited about that.
And she's fun to work with. She's really doing a good job.
Yes.
If you haven't had a chance to meet her, please pop in, say hello.
Yes. I'm sure she'll track you down to check you in if you didn't already check in. She is diligent about making sure that folks comply with our program check-in policies and that we have the
checked in,
data
didn't
and
we, Ralph?
statistics that we need, so.
That's called sign in or else.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, really, we're all set. We did
Yeah, I've been
that.
harassed a few times, Ralph. I'm not sure about this new employee. But you know, it's important you think about it, because we advocated for this software. And I think it proves when we are at the budget process, the amount of volunteer hours that are utilized by this council for the benefit of the community. And I think being able to track that assists us when we go to the town looking for enhancement of services.
All right, and then the newsletter contract has been on our agenda for many, many months now. As you know, we had initially attempted to contract for the full fiscal years 22 and 23. We had contracted with the vendor we've used for several years now, but they will no longer be in the business of newsletter printing. So we did have to go through the process again. So I revised the project specifications to include only the remainder of fiscal year 22 in light of kind of the disruption and need to make last minute changes. In the process of soliciting quotes for the revised project, we only received one, but I am excited that we have been able to finalize a contract as of about 8 o'clock this morning. So we do have a final contract. You'll notice that the price has increased significantly. So the price for this partial year 4-edition printing, and that's not including postage, is $10,300. Whereas for the last several years, our cost for 6 editions has been about $6,500. So we're almost double the price, maybe more than double the price actually. The printing costs are paid with the formula grant we receive from the state, so this will eat up a bigger chunk of those funds, and this cost, largely will not be sustainable for us going forward without additional funding or some other, method. We do rely heavily on printed advertisement. Most folks prefer to receive the newsletter by mail and rely heavily on receiving that to know what programs and services we offer. So we needed to secure a contract. We have a contract. I'm looking forward to working with this vendor, but we'll need to get creative as we explore how we're going to provide this service for future fiscal years. So I'm very excited now that the contract is signed, that will go to print, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and the full project details are in your packet if you're interested in the procurement process.
This is talking about communication being the biggest need.
Right.
I mean, this is something you can't skimp on.
Right.
There's just no way. And I am all in favor of whatever we have to do to make this happen.
And I think that is at some point going to be a brainstorming.
Yeah.
Looking at some of the grant opportunities on the
Yeah.
Cape for doing this. And I think we have groups now,
Yeah.
that are looking to help fund the Harwich
Sure.
Fund, the Cape Cod Fund. There are groups out there. And that is such a need. I think the timing is perfect. Coming off the
Absolutely.
workshop last week between Friends, Harwich Fund,
Absolutely.
and revisiting, advertising.
Yeah.
We've got a substantial newsletter as it is, substantial. I supplement and you're getting the calendar in the paper free every
Yes.
month, okay? I support that.
Yes.
You know, I advertise to support having that done. I think it's important that
Yes.
it's publicized in the paper in addition to the newsletter.
Yes,
And I think there are people like me who would be happy to support it if
Absolutely.
necessary. And you sign a year contract for whatever, and, you know, one page becomes in essence advertising.
exactly,
And, you know, we could get very easily, I think, especially with our industry, you know,
absolutely.
10 to 15 people very, very quickly to help
Absolutely,
support it.
wouldn't
So-
take much at all.
No, and so we'll revisit that as necessary, and
Yes.
I would like to explore some of the grants first.
Mhm.
I know there's been hesitancy to get into the advertising,
Right,
but your point is well taken. Whatever we need to do
whatever we need to
to
do,
see that this gets in the hands of those necessary will be done.
absolutely. I mean, this is their only contact, for many people, so, no, we've got a must.
Anybody else? Okay.
Alright, and then, the last part of my report is just my, routine update on volunteer needs. So we have resumed the volunteer medical driver program. There is certainly a lot of demand for that program. So we will be looking to onboard a few more drivers. I think we have 6 or 7, actively in the rotation right now. But we'd love to onboard a few more. So again, this process is,
How many?
a little bit more cumbersome. I'd say maybe 3 to 4 more. It, again, involves going through Corey, SORI, and driving record checks. It involves having the DPW do an inspection of your car. It requires us to keep copies of your vehicle insurance, etc. So it is a more involved process. We have well-documented policies and requirements, and we'd be happy to answer any questions for folks interested in volunteering. So we plan to take names and interest for a couple of weeks, and then because it involves having DPW staff come on site and do the vehicles, we'll try to schedule that all at once. So we'll take interest for a few weeks and then try to get DPW here to do that last check component. They've been so supportive of the program and happy to help. So it's been a great partnership and assistance from them to make this possible.
Well, I'm still on board for volunteering for that, so.
Okay, wonderful. All right, and I think that concludes my report for today. Thank you very much.
One other question about keeping track of volunteer hours. Are medical driver's hours and lunch driver hours noted somewhere?
Yes, we typically manually enter those in on behalf of those drivers, knowing that they're working off-site, so not
Okay.
coming in and entering
Okay,
themselves.
so you're not expecting us to do anything in office, okay?
Right. Yes, thank you.
He doesn't want to be chased.
Well, don't tell Kate.
That's great, we'll get that word out today.
Thank you.
And if you are, and I know Ralph is such a social media,
Oh,
that he'll get that out on his social media.
I'm on Instabook all the time.
Absolutely, he's on that all the time.
I like that twit face, that's a good one. That's,
All right.
all righty, old business, thank you very much for the report, obviously a lot going on. We are still looking for, and because the shoes were so large to fill, to find a new volunteer as a liaison with older services. The last volunteer did an incredible job. It's tough to find a replacement. So we are looking, and if anyone is interested in doing it, and if not, I would like the opportunity to reach out, if necessary, to the Friends of the Council on Aging, and if necessary, have them join us on a monthly meeting. They're going through a difficult time as well. They've got a couple of health issues on the Friends. We do have a new member who's been exceptional, and I try to attend their meetings every month. So they have their difficulties as well with volunteers, but I will bring it up at the next meeting to see if someone is willing to do so. Again, we have some great, and the new members have been looking for other volunteer opportunities.
Right,
So this might be a perfect opportunity for
sure.
them to expand their knowledge of advocacy for seniors on the Cape. New business,
For me.
anything to come before us today?
Is this board at full capacity?
Waiting for Lieutenant Justin White to be sworn in, basically.
Okay,
It's getting together with the selectmen, the interview committee. There's a process that you have to follow, and
Okay.
although he's an alternate, he cannot just be automatically sworn in until he meets with the interview committee.
Hmm.
And where he's an active member of public safety in the community, the schedules get,
Right.
trying to get them on
Yeah.
track, so.
But with him, we're
Yes.
full
Correct.
vote, okay.
And the vote, the report to the selectmen told everyone the attendance has been great for the most part, and everyone has met their code of ethics requirement, thankfully. Any other new business to come before us today? And then we'll go around the room. Joanne, what would you, anything to share?
No, just wishing everybody a happy, healthy holidays.
Thank you.
I'll second that and nothing else. Thank you.
Angie?
I'll third that, and again, thank you, Emily and the staff.
Carol?
I'm on board with everything.
All in
Thank you
favor of
very much,
that?
Emily.
Well, again, I want to thank you for helping out
Oh,
the
you're
last
very
couple of
welcome.
months. You-
No problem at all.
Ralph keeps saying, she's much quicker than you are.
Did we, I'm not talking about changing the meeting day, you did bring that up.
I did, and then basically we're at the third Wednesday, is if people can live with the third Wednesday.
Yeah, no problem
that's
at all.
fine. Then I'm able to be here consistently.
Okay,
I-
exactly, that's our,
That'll
okay.
work, yep.
super.
So we'll go to
I don't have any
third.
problem with that.
Just want you to know that you had the floor, many opportunities today, so.
I
was
know,
Okay.
I specifically said that I
Just
wasn't
check.
trying to extend the meeting, so.
One time.
No offense meant.
Well, we did, we were talking about men's lunch.
I would just like to be the fifth person to say happy holidays, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Well, then, as I say happy holidays to everyone, and
Yes.
our members watching at home, I would happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would so move.
It's been moved enthusiastically, has been seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, can clean up the room afterwards. Great to see everybody.